There aren't many faces people are excited to see first thing in the morning before they've even had their coffee. But the McDonald's drive-thru workers who take your order on the way to work have almost all of those faces.
Because nothing brings more joy in the morning than a 99-cent any-size iced coffee. Pair it with a glazed pull-apart donut for a truly great morning. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Only available until 11 a.m.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hi there, I am Adam Kivas, and this is our third episode about my work as an author. I mean, I've listened to the past two episodes, and I know that there are some issues with the voice. I notice I'm stuttering. And of course, there are some annoying things. I mean, I try to improve this. I will speak slower. I will try to speak more understandingly. I will try to be easier for people to follow. I mean, of course, this is all not easy, and not because English is not my mother tongue, but as well as that I am struggling with a little bit of the language as well. Nevertheless, I mean, I have watched some breathing exercises on YouTube, and as well as I will try to fix that. However, I mean, in this episode, I want to talk about my first novel. After a while, I wrote in 2018. It is the Harbor Chronicles. This is this novel I started writing in Germany, in Hamburg, and this novel plays in Hamburg. It is this is in 2008. I left Austria finally, because somehow I had enough. I had enough from the politics. I mean, maybe some people outside of Austria, they may not know this, but in Austria there are some issues for sure with the political system. I mean, some may have followed the news, or I mean, not much gets out of Austria, and of course, and what I'm saying here is very subjective. I mean, of course, everyone has something to complain about. Everyone has thinks that he could do better, this and that. How I know that, but there are some incidents, not only a few, but really some significant incidents which happened in Austria. This had to do partially with the president, but as well as with other actors. So it is not only the Austrian president and his party who was responsible for this, but to cut to the chase, the issue is in Austria that the checks and balances which you would expect in a modern Western country, that these checks and balances have somehow ceased to work in Austria. I mean, we are talking about checks and balances, what people might assume or know of America. I mean, in America we have a functioning legal system. Of course, it is not perfect, but nothing is. As well as a very thriving civil society, and as well as I think this is somehow unique American, that people feel some sort of responsibility for their country, and of course want to bring forward the country. I mean, this is something which would in Europe people would decry this as nationalism, as wrong understood ideology. But nevertheless, I mean, the perception of Americans is way more positive, or how they perceive their state. and in Austria this was somehow missing. I mean, the legal system in Austria, it is rather depends on political partisanship. It is rather on a whim, and as well as the political system. I mean, it is not only the left uh, as well as the right. I mean, there are some really concerning issues in Austria. This was in the past, and it is somehow one might assume that Austria is or has become a failed state. The future will show how this will develop. I mean, but truth be told, despite the fact that Austria is my country, my home uh, soil. I mean, it is. I was born in Austria. I grew up in Austria. Nevertheless, I always wanted to get out of Austria. Austria, bit out of the reason because, and to this very day, I think that in Austria, I will never be able to develop as properly, or not properly, but in general, I will not be able to develop as an author, as a philosopher, or even as a human being, because I think there are some indeed concerning issues, and if and in Austria, this is some sort, this has the inclination that you become some sort part of this this vile system. So this system is like a tornado. You can assume this is some sort of a tornado, and it drags everything inside it. So there's nothing and nobody is really left unscathed. This is and however and I wanted to left. I mean, I went to Germany. I lived in a country with the overall with the where the majority are Catholics, and I never lived before in a country where where the majority are Protestants. But this was not really. It played some part of it, but I always wanted to live in Germany. I always wanted to make a living in Germany, and I decided for Hamburg because I googled Hamburg. This was not because I knew anyone in Hamburg. Well, I don't know anyone in Hamburg. I don't have any relatives in Hamburg, and Hamburg was not suggested by anyone. So it was neither a political decision or whatever. I did not seek anything other than work and of course a future. And I googled Hamburg, and Hamburg, I was told, had a very good job records. Or Germany in general is doing well within the European Union. So it makes sense to go to Germany. And when I left for Germany, Hamburg, I bought myself a bicycle. I think this is very good. I mean, it was really it was actually very interesting to get to know the city via bicycle, and I can only recommend it to anyone. I mean, Hamburg is of course not the hub like Berlin. I mean, those people who have been in Berlin or Munich, they know this is Hamburg is not really this cosmopolitan city. Nevertheless, I fell in love with it. So I loved the harbor. It was especially in summer. I arrived there in winter. It was actually March. It was actually pretty much beautiful in summer. The harbor, the water, the climate. I mean, it is a bit different, of course. I mean, this is the north where people think a little bit different. Nevertheless, but I fell in love with it, and I really wanted to get to know the city, and I got a job at McDonald's. I mean, this is McDonald's has some sort of became for me the only working place. I don't like working for McDonald's. Truth be told, it is really not well paid. It is, you work with certain kinds of people. I mean, at least I made experiences, not very good experiences. So, but however, it pays the bills. And then and Hamburg, when I drove with my bicycle through the harbor, then I had an idea for this book, the Harbor Chronicle. And what the Harbor Chronicle is actually all about is there's in Hamburg at the harbor there's an incident. One day in the morning, the citizens of Hamburg wake up and the water in the harbor is red. This is some sort of a social incident. What happens and what strikes people as odd. I mean, hopefully it strikes everyone at hope, and then all these conspiracy theories start unraveling, as well as scapegoats are being sought. Someone needs to be blamed. This is always an issue. And what was interesting, my focus was to see that because normally everyone would assume there is a reddish hue in the water. Yeah, there must be something from a factory or something which was poured down in the water. But what I wanted to show is, and I do have experiences in political science. I studied it. That people actually rather seek scapegoats in the social area. So specifically certain minority groups, certain people, and it somehow depicts a form of the society. This is more understandable when we talk about being a foreigner in German society, as well as in Austria, because Austria and Germany, they are two different countries. This is true, but the culture, as well as the cultural consistency of the population is or the demographic data of the society is pretty much the same. Germany has 10% of foreigners, migrants, 10%, as well as Austria. Germany has 80 million inhabitants. Austria has 8 or 9 if you count everyone to it. And one important term I wanted to talk about is, as well as Inländer and Ausländer. Inländer means someone who is a native, like one would say Native American, but not. Okay, this was not a good example, but someone who is a native Austrian, native German, as well as an Ausländer. And Ausländer is rather mean foreigner. It is someone who comes from abroad. I mean, I wrote about this in my blog at WordPress. Those people who want to read it, but I don't want to reiterate what's in the blog already. I think within the blog I try to depiction one issue, and of course there are overlappings. Nevertheless, I don't want to talk about the same thing over and over again. This is the reason why I do not reiterate one by one what's in the blog. But there are of course some important issues, and this is of course being a foreigner, and it is, I think, in Austria, being a foreigner is as well as in Germany, there are two kinds of foreigners. I mean, these are desirable foreigners. I mean, desirable foreigners, these are people for example, Italian, and in the novel I write about them. I mean, I don't have any things against Italian, but not at all. But it's the way how they are perceived, Italians or French or Dutch. These are being considered as desirable foreigners because of their cultural contribution. This is not what is for fact, but people perceive that however, Italians and French and in general Christians would contribute more to society, whereas foreigners or migrants from the Middle East or non-Christians, they are rather considered to undermine the society, and they all have this bad attributes, and they would rather be harmful for a society. And this is very important especially for non-Europeans to understand, because Europe is of course a very diverse continent. I think there is a very thick web of different cultures, different languages. I think you would not find something like this in the world, maybe in India or in other parts of Asia. So in this sense, Europe is unique, but nevertheless, there is a difference between in the perception of being European and being part of the Christian culture, and being a foreigner who's been considered rather undermining the culture. And this has of course a lot of things, to do with power relations. I mean, one thing is for sure that rather the right people, I mean the far right or whatever, you can dislike these people whatever you want. I mean, you can hate them, but nevertheless these people are honest. I mean, if you are a migrant, they tell you straight in your face that they do not like you or whatever you are. Nevertheless, and there is of course an aversion against, there is sadly an aversion against migrants, and this has to do partially with the culture. I mean, this is not new, so it would be not right to say, yeah, people they are averse to migrants from the Middle East. This is not true. This is not true in that sense, because I studied this, and some of the vocabularies which is used by far right groups, but as well as by far left groups. So this is not only confined to one political area, but the vocabulary and the images which is used by far right groups, pretty much the same was used before the Holocaust in Europe, and there is some sort of a red fathom, or there is a connection between xenophobia before the migrants from the Middle East arrived in Europe. I can only speak for specifically for Austria as well as but in Germany, and thereafter. I mean, this is very important. So you cannot solely blame people from the Middle East or non-Christian for having incurred the wrath of nationalists. But nevertheless, we all talk about far-right agitations, far-right aversions against migrants, but we never talk about far-left as well as left aversions against migrants, because this is what I have experienced, because in the university it is actually rare. In the university in Vienna, because Vienna is a very is a very cosmopolitan city, it is actually rare that you are really that you're really facing a lot of far right groups within the Within the university, of course, there are some studies which are typically attributed to a certain political group. For example, if you study history, everyone assumes you are left. If you study law, then everyone will assume you are rather conservative or far right. So there are, of course, studies, but nevertheless, the universities are somehow in the hand of the left. And what I've seen, that there are some very interesting studies into that. I mean, Stuart Hall, I can only warmly recommend Stuart Hall's work on anti-racism and so on. But and I don't wanna talk too much of it because I think you have to read Stuart Hall. He's just a very brilliant to read it, and I can only recommend reading it. However, but within the left, or people from the left, they are mostly in Germany as well as in Austria, they are mostly from the middle class, and they have actually not really, they don't really socialize with migrants. This is as well as I've seen recent statistics about American young leftist students who go to these elite universities, which are overly white, where the overall majority of these people are white. They come from at least from the middle class, and there are not many non-whites there, at least not blacks. But of course there are as well as many, and in this white leftist elite is somehow is only among them. They are somehow secluded. They are confined in a small, you can almost say, gated community, and there they somehow, despite the fact they are all justice warriors who are fighting for equal rights and for more rights for migrants. Nevertheless, I mean, they did not have really, they don't really socialize with them. I mean, one example is of course Corbyn, Jeremy Corbyn in the UK. I mean, I personally never liked that man. So, but to be fair, but he had a very wealthy background. This is what I read in his bio, and many of those within the left who have actually have this background. This background partially, or it may not lead to the fact that within the left that migrants are mostly patronized. I mean, you always have this feeling, and this is what I had somehow in the university, that these so-called justice warriors, that they would fight for you. This is what they somehow made us think or perceive. They would fight for us. They would yell on the streets for us for more liberty or whatever they are doing, and we would be indebted to them because they would want to make our lives better. And this goes actually back to Karl Marx, because Karl Marx said a very famous quote. I mean, I have to translate this into English. I will say it in German. Sie können sich nicht vertreten, sie müssen vertreten werden, which means they cannot represent themselves. They have to be represented. And this is some sort of a notion, and you can see this somehow at some leftist groups and people who somehow want to be always on top, who think they have to lead migrants out of the abyss, and you are somehow being patronized. You are somehow, or even sometimes held on a short leash, and in Austria, it was indeed partially the case. You are uh, of course a voter, because about 1 million Austrians uh, Austrians have a non-migrant have a migrant background. This is a lot if you consider that Austria has only 8 million inhabitants, and of course this is a force. This is a force within the society, and everyone, especially before election days, you see all kinds of photos, all kinds of photo shootings where politicians want to show themselves, or trying to show themselves as some sort of loving for or caring for migrants. But in Austria, it is very interesting that migrants, one might assume that every migrant would vote left. This is, for example, not the case in Austria. For example, many migrants from the former Yugoslavia, especially Serbians, and they vote actually rather conservative and far right. This has to do with the issue of Kosovo and other things, whereas migrants from the Middle East, they rather vote left. However, but what is very interesting is that for the elite, even though the migrants, and this is I'm talking about leftist elite, even though the migrants, they are very important. I mean, you can decide whether you are being voted into office or not, but nevertheless, there is some sort of a barrier. This is indeed in the left. A barrier which would mean that you are some sort of a migrant, that you are only there to approve and even acknowledge the accomplishments of this white leftist elite. I mean, of course, this may sound weird when I say white, because I myself am white too. But in Europe, you are actually there are shades of whiteness. I would call it really shades of whiteness. This meaning, for example, I was sometimes called a brown dog and so on. So, but it may sound weird, but I don't want any misunderstandings standing in our way. I am not black, I'm white. It is only the perception how I am perceived in the Austrian society. Or some people think that you are black because you are a Muslim, because according to some people, all Arabs would be black. However, I don't want to go too much into racial issues, but what I want to talk about is the left. I mean, that there is indeed social exclusion, and this social exclusion is culturally. So migrants is some people in the society in Austria, they think the sole purpose of migrants would be that migrants are only there to approve the actions of their superiors. So you either way, whether you are far right or far left, you have always this subordinated role. I mean, this is always, everyone, of course, has one or two migrant friends on Facebook, and they will always present it and show it to everyone. Yeah, look at this. I am socialized with foreigners. Nevertheless, there is but not really a close bondage with them, and there is indeed a social exclusion of it, or that migrant, that they know that they do not get the chance, for example, to bring themselves in culturally. I mean, this is not happening. I mean, the left always talks about Muslims, that they honor, as well as other migrant religions, that they honor their faith and what they believe in. But if you ask them, they know little to nothing about them. It is rather only sheer political, actually for political purposes, and this is a very important term I want to talk about. Is of course whitewashing, and this whitewashing whitewashing means that all the accomplishments, this may be in history and whatever, is always attributed with European people. I don't want to talk hyperbole of whiteness, with European people, and this is something you see in the Austrian society as well. Everything that's good was in a way or another made by Germans, by Austrians, and everything that's bad, this is foreign, and so on. And this whitewashing is actually it is really crucial in a way. For example, I give an example. For example, I've seen for a couple of years a movie about with Jared Butler playing Attila the Hun. I don't know. I don't know why they did not find an Asian to play this role, but in a way it somehow gets into the. I mean that history is some sort of overworked, and in Germany as well as in Austria, this is a crucial part, and this has you can see this in the history in Austria as well as in Germany with the Jewish heritage, because in Germany as well as in Austria, the Jewish intellectuals, I mean, they pretty much created this German culture. I mean, everything. They were indeed a cultural force before the Holocaust, and the German culture thrived because of the Jewish element, and the Holocaust in all its inhuman extent pretty much got rid of this cultural elite, but you can still see this paranoia meaning that especially by the far right groups, that they want to be unadulterated. They want to keep their culture clean outside of influences, and some sort of want to preserve a genuine German culture, whatever this means. And this is something you can trace back before the Middle Eastern migrants. This is something which actually dates back centuries ago, and whereas even though there was an incident in Austria with a leftist newspaper which used some disturbing images, some sort of stigmatizing people from the Middle East, and this was somehow played in this role, so that even though, despite the fact that you are left, or that you do not stay above this, and that racism in general is a major part in the society. So it is not only everything the right. And of course you have to be aware of one thing, that racism is in Austria is way more different than in the US, because we all see what's happening in the US. I mean, racism in the US always appears as so dramatic, and of course it is. Nevertheless, you have to be aware of one thing, and this is that all eyes are on America. Of course, I mean, if everyone is watching you 24/7, of course they only see your fault, but we don't see in the media what is actually happening in Europe. I mean, when you only consider what is happening in parts of in Europe, this is way more disturbing, and in Austria as well. As I mean, the racism, people have people in Austria, they are way more blatant. So there is not really some so sort of so holding back, or in Austria people talk about or insult people way more openly, and this is and I'm saying this because I want to talk about an incident. For a couple of years ago, I think I heard about an incident at Starbucks. This was in the US, and there was I I can't remember what really happened, but apparently some racist incident in a Starbucks, and Starbucks immediately reacted. This is USA. This is America. This is why this is indeed different, and they immediately reacted. I mean, they apologized and then monitored their employees' behavior. I mean, in Austria, Starbucks employees did worse, and I don't recall any apology nor any monitoring about any staff members whatsoever. I mean, I wanted to say this because this is very disturbing, and I'm sorry you cannot say more because then you will be taken down. The censorship is indeed in place. This is one of the reasons why I write and talk in English. Nevertheless, I wanted to say this because it is indeed very difficult that we live in the 21st century, and that some people outside there do not know what is going on, and that this is indeed very disturbing. It was disturbing for me, but nevertheless, even though those people who always protest against America say, America would be this, America would be this. I mean, it is not perfect. Of course, no legal system is perfect. It is not perfect because the rules are not sufficient. No, because it is not perfect because of human error. But nevertheless, people forget that this can be way more worse, and that Europe is not this perfect island where everything works out and where everyone lives in peace, and you would not have to worry about anything. I mean, of course, this is what I thought too. It is not that only Americans think this. I mean, there was a time where I thought Europe is the most secure and safest place in the world, especially Austria. I thought things like what you would normally see this is America. This is what you expect in failed states, in third world countries. But I would have never expected this to happen in Austria, yet it did. I mean, there are a lot of things one should talk about. I mean, I don't want to talk about it because I want to tell my side of the story, because I'm not objective enough, but someone needs to talk about this for the sake of the next generation, that we have to protect ourselves from these kind of developments. I mean, like I said in the beginning, in Austria there is indeed an issue with checks and balances. There are some developments. There were some developments which lead to this result, and they have to be analyzed. And the best way to analyze this is that people know about it, and that we do not play games of it. That we do not blame others, but really come out for and tell it. However, now I actually wanted to talk about my novel, but we always go through sideways. I mean, of course, it is a very interesting topic. I mean, and you cannot be not politically taken. I mean, everyone remembers or hopefully knows the quote of Aristotle that you have to be, that you are political zone politikon, that you are always part of a political community, and if you have no opinion, then you still have an opinion. However, but I mean, it's sad. I mean, it's indeed sad that in the 21st century that you have to be very careful in that sense that you are either being taken down or being considered as an insane conspiracy theorist. Yeah, I mean that's all I can say to it. But one thing is important, and this is that we need to have checks and balances, or else this society goes down. And this is, however, this is why I left for Germany. I wanted to write. Actually, I didn't intend to write. I just want to see what Germany is about. And Hamburg, I really fell in love with the city. So I can only warmly recommend for anyone to see this city, especially in summer. It is beautiful. It is yeah, with a bike. I mean, it is of course not. It has not this cultural this cultural offers like Berlin, but it suited my purpose. And in Hamburg, I stayed for Airbnb, so this was again, this was some sort of a negative development. This Airbnb, so I was not very satisfied with it, and there were some issues too. I mean, and I remember I was really distraught because at the Airbnb you somehow could not avoid your fate of being a foreigner, of being an Austrian, of being this foreign Turkish guy, because I did not choose to be foreign. For a matter of fact, I mean, it's not that I wanna be someone else, or that I don't wanna be someone I don't wanna be, but I'm not the type of guy who wants to tell the world, or who is not narcissistic enough to some sort of be different from others, or want to be different from others. I mean, I'm not really into that. So I'm fine with being just a normal, ordinary guy. But however, I mean, you can somehow never avoid it. And this was there were some sad experiences. What happened with Airbnb and with this host families. Don't worry, I will not go into detail. But it was sad. I mean, it was somehow you felt distraught with it. At least I was crestfallen, because somehow you never can really escape this grueling perception of that you are alien and so on. So Germany was, after all, it was not new beginning. It was pretty much the same as in Austria. However, but I really liked Hamburg, and yeah, we'll see about this. I mean, in the end, I did not stay there. I mean, I'm recording this podcast from Turkey. I live here in Ordu, this small town in this Black Sea region in Turkey. However, and this is about my Hamburg, I think we will need a third episode now, because I wanted to talk specifically about the book, but I then ended up talking about political issues, and this with Starbucks. I wanted to say this, especially the difference between Europe and America, because we Europeans, we are always sanctimonious and say, these Americans, they don't know how to lead a country, because the reason why we do not see police killing unarmed students in Europe is because the media does not report about it. So that's it. So, and I hope this was interesting enough. I hope I did not speak too fast. I hope it was understandable. I will try to speak properly, and thank you for listening, and goodbye, and take care of yourself. Bye.
It's finally time to start firing up the grill. From city to shore, Acme is everything you need to prep for this summer season. Download the Acme app to shop for this season's essentials any way you want. Open the Acme app, clip your deals, then order your items online. An experienced Acme associate will carefully select your groceries, bag your order, and bring it right to your car or deliver right to your door. Download the app or visit acmemarkets.com for program details.